Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are back with our licensed professional counselor and friend, Thomas Bergvik, joining us here. Also, of course, nationally certified counselor as well. He's joining us here live on Zoom, and he looks like he's going somewhere tropical. That's not the case.
I wish I were. At least not yet. No.
So you have an interesting array of shirts, or like the
Yes.
Tommy Bahama type theme. Is that what they are?
Yeah, and also like what do they call it? Those shirts where they have like a native look to them.
Mm-hmm. Tribal-esque.
Yeah, there's a term. There's a term.
I don't know.
For it.
I don't know.
I can't think of the name of it, but I might come in with that next week because it's
right.
that time of year.
Bring it out. Yeah, summer's here almost upon us. I know you're in the Northeast, you're in Connecticut, we're in New York, and wherever you guys are listening, Thomas is here to help you, and we might have to help him today. So you said it's been an intense day. Let's get to that in just a sec. Tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Yeah, my name is Thomas Bergvik. I'm a licensed professional counselor practicing in Hampton, Connecticut. I specialize working with couples. I also work with clients who have depression, anxiety, trauma issues. And lately I've been working with, on occasion, with clients with autistic issues. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also I work a lot with anger management. So, I've been around for a while, so I have been exposed to a lot of different issues that clients have presented in the past, both before I became a professional and as a professional. So there isn't much I haven't seen. So.
All right. Well, welcome back here today. So tell me how intense your day is. Are things good? Work-wise intense, family-wise intense? If you don't mind me being nosy.
Work-wise, basically, yeah. I had a couple of intakes today, and one client who I've been seeing is, speaking of autism, who was hospitalized for the second time, and he and his mother are in a no man's land because they recently moved to Connecticut, so they're trying to get his records from Maryland, which is where they were from, and basically to confirm that his diagnosis was an actuality made. See the diagnosis that they came up with from Maryland, bring them to Connecticut so he can qualify for developmental disability service. So, and until that happens, ideally he should be in a residential setting.
Okay.
I'm right now I'm concerned as much, if not more so, with his mother's issues because she feels like she's caught between a rock and a hard place.
Okay.
And so he can be a handful to handle sometimes, and so I'm really concerned about this. In general, anybody who has a family member who they are responsible for, it creates a lot of stress, and it's one of the things I would recommend for anybody that they should see somebody when they're going through this, just to help them be able to cope better, because it is a very difficult situation to find oneself in. I think most of us potentially end up in that situation sooner or later, because as our parents get older, we don't know what kind of problems that they're going to be facing as they get older, and that quite often ends up having to be managed by the children. So this is not just for that particular family. This is for a lot of people out there who have had family difficulties that they've had to manage from time to time.
Wow. So you work with a lot of different types of things, people, and got to weigh you down sometimes, right? You're taking in on people's traumas, and how do you get out of that funk, and how do you
one of the things I do is I see my own therapist, and sometimes I'll go over cases that I'm dealing with from time to time that seem to be challenges.
Okay.
My wife works in the field, so I can sometimes vent with her when I get home. Just to explain what I've been dealing with with her, and she's, she's a willing, she has a willing ear to listen to some of the challenges that I'm dealing with from time to time. And I listen to her as well. I mean, like I said, I used to work with veterans too, and some of the clients that she works with, I've known. So it helps to have that, partner that you can sort of confide in and be able to get some feedback from time to time. So.
All right. So what did you have in mind for today? Sorry, we're on a tangent and a roll, but tell me.
Basically, we're all being caught up with what's been going on in the world, and not the least of which during the past week with Buffalo. And I'm really concerned about the effects on, as most people are, the effects on the African American community, and feeling like they're targeted for stuff. And this attitude from people in the right wing that they're afraid of being replaced, the replacement theory. And I think that is, to say the least, is not even accurate in any way, shape, matter, or form. African Americans were brought over here involuntarily back in 1619. So aside from the English, and you can maybe make an argument for the Dutch, just about everybody else who came over came well after they did, and they have. And certainly the only other group that's been here longer than African Americans have been Native Americans.
Okay.
So to say that white, have this white replacement theory attitude, we were the invaders. We as white people were the invaders. We came and replaced the Native Americans in this land. And I think people need to remember their history. So anybody who thinks that they're concerned, that their attitudes are just, which they aren't, I think they need to remember that if they really want to get the history right, they need to understand that we Europeans came well after the Native Americans that were here, and of course the black slaves that were brought over here from Africa. So there you go. And so that's the thing I'm concerned about. And with the violence and we need to sort of like really get a grip in terms of how Black people and those of minorities are dealt with by law enforcement, compared to many cases to how white people, and this guy in particular, how he has been handled. He wasn't handled nearly as roughly as if there was a Black person that was in that situation. Somebody met, and there was no bruises on him when they caught him. And I'm not advocating for violence towards perpetrators. I'm just saying there's an inconsistency here.
Yeah, you're putting up facts.
Yeah, and I have all the respect in the world for law enforcement, I really do. But there are some people out there who tend to take their power and abuse their power. And that's the thing I'm more concerned about. Because it makes all of us unsafe in the long run when you can't trust those that you should be able to trust. I don't think I'm unreasonable in my attitudes in that regard. So there's my rant.
Oh gosh, it's okay. You're entitled, and it wasn't a big rant.
Right. So, but we're all going through trauma right now. We've been traumatized by the pandemic. We are, and we aren't out of it yet. We're being traumatized because of of how our political atmosphere has become very much, we're divided as a country. I really think that we're in more trouble than people realize. And I don't know where this is going to end up.
Yeah.
The situation in Ukraine should be a concern to anybody, because it's really a battle between good and evil, as far as I'm concerned. I really think that democracy is, Churchill said, it's the worst form of government except compared to everything else. So
Yeah, right.
It's not a tidy form of way of running things, but I think people should have a voice in policies, in the direction of their individual countries and how they're going to go. And I don't want to be replaced by anybody else who thinks that they know better. That's a parental attitude, to say the least. And I think we all have a right and the ability to make the determination as to which direction our country should go into. So
That Buffalo, there's been so much, right? It's
and it's traumatizing. I have a client who was born in Ukraine. My marketing person I believe was born in Ukraine as well, and he's definitely got a lot of Ukrainian relatives. I find that for me it's personal, because I've got a lot of relatives in Norway. And guess what country is one of those that butts against Norway in the northern part? Is Russia. So
yeah.
This is not something that affects just a few people.
Yeah.
It affects all of us. There's a reason why Finland and Sweden are being considered seriously for NATO, because they see themselves as potentially threatened as well, for obvious reasons. If you look at the geography, there it is, right there. Finland's got Russia on their border, and so does Sweden. And so that's the thing that if people want to know why we're in the Ukraine. That's the reason. And I know, with the price of gasoline's going sky high, there's a potential for food shortage because of what's going on in Ukraine. It's affecting us, whether you want to admit to it or not. It is affecting us. And we should really act as if we were what they did in World War II. In some ways, we may end up in that situation. One of the mantras in World War II. I grew up in the 50s, so I remember seeing the cartoons being played at that time, and one of them was, "Is this trip really necessary?" When you go on a car trip. So you couldn't go on frivolous day trips. You had to have a reason for it, because there was a shortage of of gasoline. We don't have a shortage of gasoline, maybe, but it's supply and demand. So what does that tell you? If there's more of a demand than there is a supply, that's when prices go up. So maybe we are in a way short on fuel.
Whew. Expensive fuel is, oh gosh, $78 to fill up my car the other day. Sorry.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
What?
It is crazy. And fuel in New York is not cheap, period.
Nope.
Compared to other parts of the country. The only other part of the country that's really got expensive fuel under any circumstance is California. Their prices are out of sight too. But I got a gas station that's right at the foot of the hill here where I am, and I saw $4.69 a gallon, $4.69.9. The Gulf station. And on Morning Joe this morning, they were showing about how everybody but the oil companies are not doing well in the stock market right now.
Interesting.
The oil companies are making money hand over fist.
Yeah.
And they said Shell, Mobil, and it might have been Exxon, but they were all the big oil companies were really making a lot of money out of this crisis that we're in. Inflation didn't come from nowhere. It's been pushed, and in fact, in part, Putin has a lot to do with it, with his decision to invade Ukraine. And we may end up also blaming him for food shortages. And I'm really concerned about what's happening in the developing world, because they have less resources when it comes to food.
Okay.
And so when things, when the production of wheat is no longer where it should be because of Ukraine not being in the market because of the war, they're going to be feeling it worse than anybody. We are privileged compared to them.
Mm-hmm. Life.
Any other good news you want me to share with you?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, I know you got good Memorial Day plans coming up, I'm sure, right? All the birthdays, was that last weekend? Wait, or this weekend? When was all the birthdays?
That was my son and my daughter-in-law. Their 40th birthday was on the 7th and the 11th.
That was last. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, 7-11, you know.
I got it.
Match made in heaven. My granddaughter, my third oldest granddaughter, is graduating from junior high and going to be going to Cheshire Academy. She got a partial scholarship to go there. And she's a great soccer player, and she just made this regional soccer team that apparently also has another part of the program where they play nationally. So she's got a bright future ahead of her, and she's a very good student. So we're going to be, I expect we're going to be seeing really big things from her. Her sister is an athlete. She is also a very good soccer player, but she also has taken up basketball and lacrosse. And apparently both, from what I understand, and I've seen her play basketball, she's been really good in both of those sports.
Wow.
So, and speaking of graduations, my second oldest granddaughter is graduating from high school. So a lot of events going on.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
We're going to a wedding on July 9th. A friend of a former colleague of my wife is getting married July 9th. So
good. Gotta have some fun. Add some brightness to this, right?
Yep. And then we go on vacation in the Outer Banks in August, and then we're going to the Caymans in October.
Nice. Good for you. So I guess we're not going to be talking much. Yeah. Wow. I got to try to plan a trip. Last year we took the boys to Greece, and I'm probably doing the same again. So that's it. Great Wolf Lodge again. Maybe they love that. You know, the little things. It's important. I don't know if there's a Great Wolf Lodge in Connecticut. There's not. Only in Boston and then in Pennsylvania. So yeah, I don't think there is, but I want to hit all 19 of them. It's my goal in life.
Let's see. I've got a nephew who lives down in Florida. I've got a niece that lives in Iowa. My wife has a nephew who lives in Maine. Another one, Heather. I think Heather lives in Pennsylvania. So they're somewhat spread out, but when it comes to the immediate family, we're all together. My daughter's in Woodbury, Connecticut, and we live with my oldest daughter lives in Woodbury. My younger daughter lives with us, and then we got my son down the street from us. So,
God. Aww.
So we're all going to be celebrating the upcoming Memorial holiday together.
That's awesome. Yeah. Going upstate, family barbecue up in Middleburg, New York, and then may hit Cartwright, the water park too, and Howe Caverns.
Oh, Howe Caverns. Been there.
Have you ever been there? Yeah, I was there at elementary school, and I just know it's up there. It's close by, and I looked into it the other day. I was like, it's so cute to see little caves and stuff is good.
Oh, speaking of trips, the one I told you is graduating from junior high. She's going to DC week after next. Class trip. So.
That's what I did my class trip, and it's funny. I really don't have any memory of it. Like all these years, I need a trip to DC. Yeah. Wow. But a little
Exciting time
vacation.
for kids.
It is. And
It
a little
really is.
vacation can do a body good, do a mental health check, and it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be far, it doesn't have to be expensive, but little mental health break for everyone, including your clients. I'm sure that gives
Oh,
people
absolutely.
little something to look forward to, a little something. And again, just
Well,
time off.
they talk, and there is a stress meter of sorts in my anger management book, and they talk about some of the most stressful things that happen to people. And what's interesting, vacations tend to be up there because, and it's a very simple reason for that. It's a change in routine. And so we're all creatures of habit, routine. And what vacations do, they get you out of those habits. And it's like, my wife and I used to have arguments predictably every year when it came to vacations.
Really? Wait. Why? What would happen?
Well, because we were arguing about, getting packed, whether we're bringing everything or not, the kids' issues. I mean, my son was really funny. He actually kind of spoke about it one day with my wife and said, and just, I wish I could remember exactly how he put it, but the way it was hilarious to listen to him talk about it, because he remembers us getting it. We would have an argument and everything would be fine. And then we have another argument and everything would be fine. This is the course of the week of every vacation. He can almost predict it.
Yeah.
And so, now we're basically, we maybe having the grandchildren around during a vacation, but as far as we're concerned, we're okay.
Yeah.
It's their parents' responsibility to keep the kids basically entertained. And so if there's any disagreements, they have to deal with it.
Yeah. Very true.
And we can see, we've been there, done that, so we could just stand by and say, yeah, I remember those days.
That's the one thing my mom said, like before she passed. She's always said how you're going to appreciate having grandkids more than kids. And I'm like, Mom, I had my kids late. I didn't have them young like you, and she was like 20. And I'm like, I don't think I'll ever have grandkids. I'm like, well, I mean, it's possible, but I'm like, I don't think I'll be able to enjoy them. I'll be in a wheelchair if I'm alive. So my mom always says the grandkids were so much better than having grandkids was so much better than having kids. And it wasn't an insult. I guess you're just older or wiser, have more tolerance, learn patience, and we send them home.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I said this to my clients the other day. If I knew back when I was young what I know now, I mean, experience teaches. And the thing is that what parents go through every generation, it's not new. What's new is the parents going through it.
Yeah.
I know there are some parents out there who, no fault of their own, obviously, but whose parents may not live with them, or even sadder, may have passed away already. And so they don't have their parents to sort of like vent to when they feel like life is getting out of control.
Yeah.
But for those parents who do have the grandparents around, it is a godsend, I think, for those kids. I call them kids because they're younger than me. To have somebody to talk to help them get through the tough times. And especially if they're going through ups and downs in their relationship, the stress is always high when you have kids. And especially as the kids get older and they're adolescents, they're rebelling. You think you're doing all the right things.
Yep, you got that right.
And then the kids get have issues from time to time that you have to tackle to help them get through those issues. Growing up never said it was easy. you know.
Thomas Bergvik, it's like this is great. It's like our own mental health session.
Well, yeah, I mean, and one of the speaking of intensity, and I know we're almost done here, but I had a client. One of my intakes was a young father who was married and divorced and remarried. So he's got 2 kids from his first marriage and 1 from the second one, and he is finding that one of his older kids is resenting the fact that she has a younger sister that she's around. And so, and I know that can be irritating for a parent to hear that. And I was thinking, as I said to him, I said, this is what I wish somebody would have told me. I said, just first of all, make sure your ex understands that she needs to be aware of anything she may be saying that might be affecting your daughter and her attitude. Because sometimes we get, when we're no longer with our ex-partner, we get frustrated with them from time to time. Our attitudes towards the ex tends to creep over to the kids. And so they might be reflecting what the ex is saying. And so I said, be very, just speak to her, let her know. I said, look, this is not a criticism, but I want you to be aware of something you're not even aware of, that maybe some of the things that you're saying that you think that your kids aren't hearing, they are hearing it. And that might be reflected in how they're portraying or relating to issues like regarding her father's new wife and daughter. Split families are never easy to deal with.
Interesting.
And so, and it's like, and it's really important to keep your cool, because if the emotions get up, then the listening stops.
Mm-hmm.
As I mention that all the time, it's like you might as well be talking to the wall when that happens, because all you're thinking about is how you're going to respond to the next dagger that's being thrown at you. So it's better to say, you know what, maybe now is not a good time to talk about this. We'll bring it up some other time.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Always a pleasure having you here. Will I see you next week, or are you going to be away?
No, I will be here. Yeah,
all right,
definitely. Good. And I don't know. I mean, again, I haven't spoken to Ashley, but hopefully it's not my last show, but we'll see.
All right, good. Well, thank you so much for being here. If we want to reach out to you, could you share all forms of contact, please?
Yeah, you can reach me. My phone number is 203-917-7674. And my email address is tabergvik@gmail.com. You can also find me under bergvikcounselingservices.com.
Great. Well, thank you again for being here, for joining us. Looking forward to next week's shirt. Hope it's just as funky. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Care. Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting. I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.